Daniel Mael, welcome to another episode of the Mael Time podcast. I'm here with Yehuda Dukhan, a very, very special soul. His brother Yochai fell on October 7th in the Nahal Oz base, which we're going to talk about today. But before we even get there, I want to talk about your father, because your father also passed away in action. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, correct. It's in 2002, what we call the Second Intifada. Also, a very hard time for here in Israel. So yes, he was one of the Kitat Konenut. It's not the army, it's
Right.
civilians who live in their own communities. So they volunteer to be an armed force. In 2002, November 15th, some few terrorists ambushed. It was Erev Shabbat. It was in Shabbat. So they ambushed soldiers in Hebron and started to shoot at them and the soldiers. And then, they all the reinforcement arrive, and including my father. And they started to fight against the terrorists. We talk about night in Hebron, and there's no lights. Very, very hard fight against terrorists to have the advantage. Also, many ammunition. They were very prepared for the forces to come, and so very, very hard fight. And my father, when he tried to rescue wounded in this a little corridor, so he just got shot and fall. and and I was 8 years old, and Yochai, my brother, was 5 years old. I'm
Yeah.
the
How did
eldest.
how did how did this shape your lives? This is obviously a consequential event. How did that shape your life in leading up to your service in the army, your brother's service in the army?
Um, well, the first thing I remember that I was a little boy, 8 years old. And the first thing that I remember that all those people who came to our house to speak with us. I speak, from the point of view of a child. I remember the first thing that they told us, that my father was a hero, and it was very awkward to me. I mean, you are. I'm a child. I'm 8 years old. 8 years old child, but you understand what is death. You understand that your father won't come back, but they told you that he was a hero. And I can say that the hero and heroism. There's many these words that I heard many times in my life, and I need to be like him. And it's very, in every single thing that you do in your life after that, you just think about that. And and Yochai as well. He was the youngest. He was 5 years old, and we just born. And also I mentioned that it was a very hard time for here in Israel, for Am Israel here in Israel. And we lived in Kiryat Arba. It's near Hebron, in Judea and Samaria. So you are surrounded by Arabs and Palestinians. And this is the reality that you live every day. And I'm the eldest, so I understood. First of all, if we're speaking about me, I understand that I need to somehow take the place, take my father's place. It was very. you can't do that. But I understand that I needed to do that, and it's also my connection with Yochai. It's also where uh, uh, is a consequence also of that understanding. And when I was young, I didn't understand that I need to do that, but this is what just happened. And I also understand that I need to be an example and all that stuff. It was very hard. I don't say just that's it's good and that's what I needed to do, but that's what happened. And 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 when I got in the army, all these, it's when you lost your father in that time, in those circumstances, terrorist and heroism and fire and combat. So it's shape you, in a very, you need to be you understand that you need to take responsibility, a total responsibility on yourself, first of all, and after that on the others as well. So when I got in the army, I served in the Sayeret Givati. It's a special unit inside Givati Brigade, and I served also as a sergeant, and after that officer school, and after that I was a team leader, uh, and after that deputy of a company commander. And then I got resigned. I finished my army after 5 years, and and Yochai as well. I think he just look at me, look at and how and I spoke with him many times about the service in the army, and I can tell you it's not just about, I can tell you it's not just about my father. I do think that even if my father was alive, I was when I was needed to do my mandatory service. I will because where the place that I grew up in, and the values that we grew up on. So you understand that you give something for your people, for Am Israel. So you choose to do that in a combat unit. And I do think that even if my brother, if hypothetically, if even if my father died, so I didn't I also will go to a combat unit.
It's definitely a complicated background, and I just cannot imagine what you and your family are going through in the aftermath of October 7th. Um, let's talk about Yochai and leading up to um, October 7th. He was a little bit older, correct? So had he gone directly to the army, or
Youngest.
so? But I'm saying he went to
No,
yeshiva right before.
what I didn't hear you.
Did he go
What?
to Did he go to yeshiva before he went to?
I thought that you said that he was older than me. No, so
No.
yes, correct. He sit. I don't know. You can. It's quite weird to say he learned Torah, because it's Torah. You don't just learn. You live that. But yes, he was almost 6 years in the yeshiva before the army. There's in Israel a concept that after you finish your yeshiva tichonit, your high school, in age of 18, so you go to some of 1 year, 2 years, some of the few years to prepare yourself to the life in general, and particularly to the army. So Yochai go to yeshiva. He was there almost 6 years. So when he got in the army, when he got recruited, he was 24 years old. Yes, he was very older. He was even old. He was older. I mean, if I remember, if I recall correctly, the company commander, when he was a young recruit, so the company commander was 23 3 years old. So it's mean that Yochai were more order than the company commander.
Right. So what happened? I guess in the days or weeks leading up to October 7th, did he mention that things were crazy on the border? Did he mention anything was out of the ordinary? Was there any sort of concerns that he had vocalized to you or your siblings or mother?
He, Yochai, not just a month or days before, Yochai always told me that he think that he as a commander, and before he was a commander, as a soldier, as a simple soldier, he told me that he don't feel that he is really prepared for war, and he also told that when there was an event of the all the commanders in the Golani Brigade. There was the battalion commanders and the company commanders and the all the platoon commanders as well. So when they, the brigade commanders start to talk and say and said how the Chativat Golani Brigade is ready for war, and Yochai just raised his hand and told them that he think that is not true. And if you want really to check that, so don't just say that. Check us if we the platoons are ready, and yes, a few months before October 7th, Yochai, all the the opening fire rules that you have some rules when you can open fire, when you
But
cannot open
rules
fire.
rules of engagement, as we'd say in English, rules of
Rules,
engagement.
so all these rules of engagement, Yochai was very, very against now we call that the conception, but all these philosophy and ideas that are that the rules of engagement are based on. So Yochai had very hard time with that, and he said that we are just allowing them to do whatever they want. And I can tell you that I think it's about 2 months before, he sent me a video that the Arabs took, that they filmed how some they planted a bomb on the fence, and something got wrong, and the bomb was exploded. It was an accident for them. So he sent me that video that the Israeli, that the IDF intercept, but they saw that the Arabs took the video that they had an accident on the fence. I speaking about the Gaza border. Yochai was there, and he told me, "You
Specifically
see,
next to Nahal Oz.
yes." So
Okay.
he told me, "You see that they managed to go so close to the fence to plant that bomb and this is an accident, but I believe that they can do that without an accident." And
And around when did he send that to you?
what?
Around what date did he send you that
I think
video?
about 2 months before October 7th. He was like he arrived in Nahal Oz about 2.5, 3 months before October 7th. It was 1 month, I think, in the end of October, or in the middle of November. They needed this. His battalion needed to. There's a rotation between the battalions and between the units. So Golani, the task they needed to, I think, about middle November to leave this mission, and replace. And this is a rotation of I don't know how to say that, operative action that you go to some outpost, you do your mission, and after that you finish some few months, and you go to few months of training, and and after and it's like that. It's a rotation of train and operation action and like that. So he sent me that right after they arrived to Nahal Oz, and and he told me that they managed to plant that bomb when there was many riots and of the Palestinians Gaza. They arrived to the fence and to the border with Gaza and Israel, and just rioting, and we call that it was not they didn't shoot, but there were many. There was one soldier, Barel Chadaria Shmueli, Zichrono Livracha, that killed during the riots. So you can't shoot them because it is just a demonstration, right? It's not just a rally. It's not you don't get. They didn't shoot about us, but among the crowd there was a Hamas terrorist that sneaked just right into the fence, and they managed to shoot through a little window and managed to kill the Barel. It was, I think, 2 years before October 7th, and Yochai always told me, and they managed to plant those bombs in the same tactic. They sneak in between the crowd during the demonstration. They plant the bomb and go their home. And on October 7th, many places in the fence that were breached, they they exploded the holes in the fence with the bombs that they planted a few months ago. So Yochai, before that, Yochai was very pissed about
Okay,
the news.
I wanna ask you about that. So you're saying that there were bombs that were planted weeks or months before October 7th that were utilized on October 7th?
That's what I understood, and that there's
From who?
when I investigate, Nahal Oz and all that, I think I even think it's recorded on media. In a news, but I remember from several different people who told me that many of the holes that the Hamas did in the fence was with explosion. It was with bombs, explosives, but they didn't put those explosives because if you are, if by the rules of engagement, if a suspect arrive right, alone in the middle of the day, arrive alone too close to the fence, so you are of course you can some some forces will go check it out, but during the riots you can it's a very good time for you to sneak and put that bomb. And there was just a riot and a demonstration near to the fence, so you don't check that. So that's how I understand that. I don't know if all the holes in the fence were just in the same tactic, but we understand that there's some holes that they explode with the bombs that put before. But what I'm trying to say is that Yochai was very pissed and was very pissed and angry about this inclusion of terrorism. And he told me that there's something that you don't need to include, like terrorism. But we thought, we in Israel, I don't say we, the chief of the army and the whole high army system thought that Hamas is afraid. Hamas murta in Hebrew. That's the joke that we told to ourselves. I mean, Hamas and the Arabs and in Gaza border was afraid just in our imagination, and when you are, you are just stick with your ideology, and you don't just try to, put these glasses on off and just try to read the reality that happened in front of your eyes. And so that's what happened. And I think that Yochai was one of the guy that didn't thought, with in the Israeli army. And I can say that as well because I resigned from the army in 2019, not a long time ago. I'm young and just got into 30. I'm 30 years old. And I know that in the army in Israel, and I think that you can say that on the West generally, but if we speak about the army, there's some conformism that you all of the commanders, all of the people need to, just stick with the. You can't just. It's not allowed to
you have to
you.
conform. You have to conform because that's also kind of how you get up the ladder. So if you're part of the system, you're playing that game, which that's I think that's what you're trying to say,
Yes,
right?
exactly, and there's some point that it's not just a game. I understood when I was in the army. I understood the end. Yes, it's a game. You need to, to say yes, and after that, go and do what you think. But there's some point that you truly, uh, you make yourself. Trying to find the word. Um, there's some point that you just convincing yourself. That's what I just
Right.
that you
I
just you
completely
convince
right.
you're convincing
Yeah,
yourself, and when you are a commander, you convince your soldier, and when you have one rogue that don't want to accept that and say it's not true. I don't agree with that. So you put them away in some ways, and if some you have that, when you say that when you climb in the ladder. So when you get high, I mean, when you get high in the ladder, so you find one type, one type officers. They are
right.
all think in, in the same equation. There's any, you know, thinking out of the box. And Yochai
Frustrated by it.
he was frustrated by that, but even before the army, even when he was a child, Yochai always was, a deep thinker, and he had his own way, always, in many things. Even if it's in Torah, when you play with your friends, it's always he had his
Contrarian.
own way. What?
He was a contrarian. He was unique in his thinking. He had his own path, his own
Yes,
derek.
yes,
Yeah.
and he had also, you have some guys that have that their own way, but Yochai also have the courage to say that,
And I
some point.
noticed that in the video in the Mamad on the 7th of October, I think he was the only person who actually brought his vest. So and was wearing
Yes,
his so
he had some.
when you talk about different thinking, you can see it there that he immediately was thinking slightly differently than other people. Before we get to the 7th though, I just want to ask, October 6th, what was that like at the base? Was it serious? Was it festive? Were they going into Sukkot and saying, this is like basically a holiday and we're having a vacation on the base, or are they serious
No,
about things going on?
no, it's a usual weekend, half. of the company is in the is in. I mean, half of the company, two platoons are in at home, and it's like that every weekend in the IDF. You have your mission, you do your mission. What do you need, and like that. And it wasn't. There's an holiday, but when you are in the army, so you do your mission, and if you're a secular guy, it doesn't bother you. But if you are a Yerei Shamayim guy, so you do your mission, and even if it's mean to speak in the radio and all that stuff that
Right.
you can do, so you do
And
that. And
it's come out after that 3 out of the 7 cameras for the Tatzpaniot were not working. Did Yochai know that when he was on the base?
I don't think the Tatzpitaniyot, Yochai, you mentioned that you saw the video that is in the Migunit, in the shelter, and Yochai, in that time, he didn't know, he didn't know nothing. For them, it was like, a serious alarm, nothing but that.
So why did he wear his
You need,
vest when nobody else wore their vest?
because it's Yochai. Because Yochai, when he got in the vacation from the army, he took his rifle. So we always, me as his brother, why did you do why are you taking your rifle to in Shabbat, in Erev Shabbat, when he go to the tefillah, to Kabbalat Shabbat, he take his rifle with him. So I told him, why are you taking your rifle? Get some rest. It's heavy. It's not. It's heavy. It's also a responsibility. You always need to look for it. So give yourself some rest. So Yochai had how to tell that, a sentence that he always said, to believe in the threat, la'amin bayum. And also he told me that now it's my profession. I am a commander. I'm a fighter. A combat soldier. This is my profession. Yochai was very locked guy. He was a very persistent guy. I remember myself and him, very, very persistent and very, very honest and genuine person. So very stubborn. So this is what I need to do. So this is my job. I get it done. And I also always, he didn't like that, that we are sit and the sentence, always believe in the threat. So he carry his rifle to every place he go. Even I remember I remember him take his rifle to his marriage. This one of his friends got married, and when he go to the marriage, he took his rifle with
So
them.
the wedding, yeah,
To the wedding. Sorry,
right,
to the wedding. So he took his rifle with them. So
right. It was just
also
he
asked
was
them.
made from different stuff, is what you're saying.
Right.
October 7th. How? So the sirens go off at 6:29. Um, do you want to? Could you run through a little bit of the details as you know them about what he encountered and how the day played out?
Yes. So I also say that in the book, but all the details I
Well,
have.
before you go, before you actually say, I just want to. We were talking off camera about it. One Day in October, fantastic book, and Yehuda has a story featured here about Yochai. So that's kind of the grand details. Just for our viewers here, do you want to go through some of them to see just to kind of give an overview of what happened that day with him?
Yes. So I will say that all of the details that I will say now are based on testimonies that I gathered from soldiers that survived that battle. The main sorry, the main testimony is it's from Nimrod, his best friend, his co, the other the other platoon commander, other lieutenant. They were good friends. Two officers, two platoon commanders share the same also the same mission, but also the same experience of you're lonely when you are a commander in some ways. So very good friends, and he was wounded during the fight, and he survived. And he told me many of the story. 90% of the entire fight he was with the Yochai. So
And one
so all
question,
the
actually,
details.
one question. Nimrod has offered this, but is there videotape of what happened, or you just the army hasn't given it to you?
I don't know if I don't know if there are videos. I think that they there's some videos that existed, but
Like there
I
weren't
didn't.
cameras in the base that were recording.
Yes, I think it. I believe that there was many cameras, but I didn't receive nothing from the army and nothing. I mean,
Have
I
you?
don't
I'm
know.
sure you've asked the army for them. What does the army say?
Yes, we asked them from the beginning of the so from the beginning we asked them for footage and we know, and that's for sure, we know that they have not a video, a radio communication. Yochai spoke
Right.
in his communication device. So they have those all of those speaking recorded, and so we want to hear that. But there's one year and more that passed, and we didn't just
So you haven't even heard
see
the
that.
audio recordings.
No, no, even that. But they told us that they have an audio recording of Yohai. And they spoke about one of the guys that do all those research and what happened in Nahal Oz. So he told me that there's a audio
But they
record of
won't let you
Yohai.
listen to it.
Wait, we working on it, and many phrases like that, but we still waiting. So but the main story that confirmed by those guys who are doing the investigation, they confirmed many of the details. I asked them because some of the testimonies, I heard something, and after that, when I spoke with the people, with the commanders that work on the investigation, I asked them if there was some detail. I just tried to confirm the details that I heard from the testimonies. So they told me that yes, they confirmed some details, and we just still waiting. And,
So what do you
but
know? What do you know so far from his friend?
so, like you said, in 629, there's Hamas launch combined and simultaneously attack towards the Gaza envelope, and Yochai was asleep. He was in his pennies. I mean, he worked all night, so his deputy replaced him, and indeed in that moment he was asleep, and they just heard the bomb. There was no sirens. Um, they just heard the explosion on their base. that was a massive barrage of mortars on Nahal Oz outpost, and they just they just fell from their bed from the explosion and just ran into the shelter. And Yochai, when he just woke up, he just put his vest on. He took his helmet and his rifle and ran into the shelter. And
Can I ask you? I just want to
um,
ask one question here. What was the procedure for soldiers on the base in the event of a Tseva Adom? Were the soldiers told that they should take their vest and helmet and gun and go to the shelter, or was it just to run without it? Was that
no,
ever
no, just run as soon as you can, because you are very close to Gaza. I mean, if you are living in Tel Aviv, you have some minute, or you
right?
have some. It depends on the. It depends on when you. I mean,
Right, but I'm saying even though Nahal Oz is right next to the base, right next to Gaza, I'm sorry, and right next to the border, and there had been
eight
people that
hundred
were,
meters.
and there are people that have been approaching the border, and there was Hamas training and things like that, but the standard procedure still wasn't to take your gun and vest and helmet.
No,
Yochai
no,
was
no.
different by doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's exceptional. It's exceptional. It's not. You don't need to do that. Like I said, like I mentioned before, you don't need even to go with your rifle to your friends waiting. You understand? So it's an exception. Yochai was like that, and you just need to run to the shelter, to the next your next the most close shelter that you have, and wait that the attack, the launch will end. So that was their how to say that all
Response.
of those rockets. It's a routine. I mean, when you live in the south, in the south of Israel, it's a Tzeva Adom, and all those launching of rockets is a routine. You go in the shelter. Well, it's end, so you go back to your to your work, to your I don't know, to your coffee. That's a routine in the south, in south of Israel. So even for the soldiers, that it's just a routine. Like, just wait that the attack will end it, and go back to one everybody will return to their I don't know, to sleep, to get a shower, whatever you were doing. So that's what they thought, but we know that didn't happen. So Yochai just ran to the shelter with most of the soldiers, the combat soldiers from the Golani company. This is a large base. The headquarters of 13 of the 13th Battalion sit there. So there are many soldiers who are not combat soldiers, logistic, medics, intelligence, tatzpitaniot as well. The vast majority of the soldiers that are in Nahal Oz are not combat soldiers, are not trained. Even though there are some with a gun, they didn't have the proper training about the gun. They probably shot 30 rounds in a range, and after that they got their weapon. It's not their job, right? So the vast majority of them are not combat soldiers, but you have two platoons of Golani. There are combat soldiers who are trained, and about 40 soldiers, and most of those soldiers are in this time, in that hour in the shelter. And there are some outside of Nahal Oz, because you have the mission. So the company commander, Shiloh, were outside, Also, you have recon. You have two light armored jeeps that always in searching in the area. So the soldiers of Yochai, this platoon, they were far from the base, and about 25 soldiers are in the shelter. So the attack starting, and barrage of mortars on the base, and Yochai, when he was in he was in the shelter, but because he took his vest, it was his decision to take his vest changed the whole. I mean, all the things that occurred after that. If he didn't, he took his vest. So because he took his vest, he had his radio device on him, so he could listen to the tatzpitaniot, to the to the observatories. I don't know how to say that. To their what they said,
The
what they see.
observers. He could listen to the observers.
Yes, observers.
But let me ask you one
And
thing here. Did he have a connection with the guys who were patrolling on the fence? His group that was out there, did they have a kesher system?
yes, they are all the forces that on the fence and have their comms, but the guys, the patrol wasn't on the fence. I mean, I think that in 5 or 5:30 p.m. a.m. There's an order to um, uh,
Patrol,
they
check in.
receive they receive an order to move away from the fence in 5:30 a.m. I think. So they didn't was
Wait,
near the
they
fence.
normally were near the fence and they were told to move away from it?
Yes, and yes, they had an order. This is not as too this is not too weird, because you have some
They,
how
if
do you
I
call
could,
that?
if I understand correctly, basically they thought that if there were terrorists close to the fence, that they should get away so that the terrorists wouldn't shoot at the patrol. Is that basically what you're saying?
No, it's usually it's an order that when you have some an anti-tank threat, intelligence, and we think that we have some chances that they will shoot an anti-tank on the patrol. So I don't know why, but it's happened sometimes that we have
But I'm
some
saying instead of going towards the fire and saying let's engage the Hamas terrorists, they're saying let's back away so they won't have a chance to try to shoot at us.
yes, but it's when you think that they are in Gaza, they are not coming to us. They are in Gaza. They can just launch, a cornet. It's 5 or 6, even 8 kilometers
Right.
of range. So you need to get out. We will check it out. We will shoot them with Air Force. I don't know,
And
tanks or something like that.
and that now infamous story about Finkelman, Herzl Levy, Ronen Bar, and Aaron Khaliva when they met and they had a phone call, around 3:15 or so, and then Finkelman, who's in charge of the South, who is on vacation in the North, decides that he's going to go to the Kiryah to look at what's going on, but nobody called Nahal Oz, correct? They had no heads
No,
up.
no, 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 no. Business as usual,
So what
like
made
we
them
said.
call saying to back up at 5:30?
Warning, an alert. It's not an exception alert. You have some alerts during your mission. So it's like a fraction of, I don't know, of intelligence that they just say to I mean, get away from the fence, move away from the fence, and we will check it out. And after that, you can come back. So so many of those, I mean, the patrol wasn't on the fence, and even if the patrol was on the fence, they were probably killed because these two jeeps. I mean, six soldier, 8 soldiers. Two of them are a driver, and also are not combat soldiers. The drivers are not trained, but it's not quite matter.
Right.
Six, if there was 6 soldiers, they were probably killed. So Yochai just so like I said, they ran into the shelter. Yochai with his vest and helmet and rifle, and he started to listen to the radio to understand what happened. And in that time, the mortars on the base don't stop to fall. I mean, it's a consistent barrage of mortars, even drones that explodes. That not an explode drones, drones with grenades and mortars that they drop selectively. If you want to if you they manage to, with those drones, to hit in many, how can you tell that,
Locations.
yes, location, but in a weakness, in
They
many
identified
vital
weaknesses and
vital.
dropped it on
Yes,
the
very vital. You
cameras
have
and
you have
yeah.
some on the fence. On the fence, you have a machine gun that is remotely. You activate from distance with a joystick. So they, with those drones, they just deactivate and uh, manage to deactivate these machine guns. And so Yochai understand that there's this is a serious. He didn't know how much terrorists are coming, but he understood that there are some terrorists who are starting to, some few. I mean, a few, 5, 4, and this is completely. It's not just about rockets. It's not about just about waiting in a shelter. So he needed to. He understand that he needed to prepare his guys to a fight. So he decided to send them, all of those soldiers that were with him in the shelter, was unarmed. Most of them in their pajamas. I mean, they didn't were prepared, even though they have the experience and all that stuff. You can do nothing without your vest and your rifle and your gear, your combat gear. So he decided to send them all to get gear up and return, but he just sent them in a group of four each time, 4 soldiers, because you can't just send them all, because if just one mortar will fall on all of those soldiers. So it's a quite full act to do that. So each time 4 soldiers go to the rooms, get their stuff and their gear, come back to the shelter, and after that the second 4, and like that. Yochai also got outside. He's put his uniforms on, and in about 7 a.m. you have about 25 soldiers who are ready to come ready to fight. And that's the point that they started to engage with terrorists on the wall. There was a wall that surrounded not all the base, half of the base. I mean, the wall. The purpose of that wall was to prevent shooting from distance, but not to block and infiltrate to the base. So the back area of the base was not with there was no wall, just the side that were in front of Gaza.
It's also
And
also worth noting that Naor Saboni, Hashem Yikom Damo, was shot through a hole in that fence because there was
yes,
about a Coke-sized bottle hole in every part of the fence. I think it had something to do
yes,
with the moving company. So there
yes,
were
yes.
snipers that were able to step up and actually shoot him, and you couldn't do anything in response because they were hiding behind the barrier. Just a note.
Yes, it's also just it's also you can see through that thinking. They were never just come to us. I mean, you can. I mean, it's quite stupid to put a wall with each of that part of concrete. You have some big hole in from to the to that like what you said, that to move those walls. And but Naor and also another soldier, David Retner, also was killed like that. So in 7:30, about 7:30, it started to engage with the terrorists who are stormed the base, and they started to infiltrate the base from three different places, from the entrance, from the main entrance, from the north of the base, and from the south. So Yochai and his soldiers started to engage with them, started to kill some terrorists. That's the point that Naor Siboni and David Retner was shot, and they got injured. They didn't die directly. They didn't die just. They die after, from their wounded and from grenades during the fight. But this is the point that they got shot. Yochai and the other and Yohai Nimrod told to their friend to take the injured, to take the wounded into the shelter. And the medics started to work on those and try to fix the wounded. Naor and David was very in a serious, in a very bad situation, bad condition. But they managed to keep them alive, I think, for 3 or 4 hours. Um, I think, or about 2 or 3 hours, they were still alive, even though they got shot seriously. In that moment, Yochai and Nimrod and a soldier from the Nimrod's platoon, Itai Avraham Ron, those three, Yochai, Nimrod, and Itai, go to run into the south area of the base. They saw that group of terrorists start to get into the base, and a few moments before, Nimrod took from one of the vehicles that they used to work with. So he took two Lao missiles, and he gave one of them to Yochai, and one of them he kept to himself. So when they saw those terrorists start to infiltrate from the south area of the base, they shot those two missiles. They managed to kill and for a short time to stop those infiltration, and they decided to go to the Haman, the war room, like in Hebrew, in English, it's the war room. That in that time, there were in this room, there were the Tatzpitaniot. There was also an non-combat officers, non-combat soldiers, girls that many professions, army profession that doesn't require a combat experience. and 18 soldiers in the war room. Yochai, Nimrod, and Itai arrived about 8 a.m. to this war room. I mean, after a few minutes, the base was crowded by Nukhba forces, and that's an important detail because in the media and the news, I mean when you talk about Hamas, always Nukhba, but there's no, it's not true. Nukhba, it's the special forces, the most elite trained terrorists of Hamas. These forces include, I think, about 3 or 4 thousand terrorists, not more, and those and I mean those terrorists attacked Nahal Oz, but there's many places that there was no Nukhba. There was just a regular terrorist, but there was also a Gazan civilians just came to kill Jews. But what I'm trying to say here is that they were very coordinated. They were very disciplined. They knew what they have to do. So it was a very hard fight because you fight against not just it's still Hamas. It's still I mean, and if we speak about the train, they are less trained than you, but it's the
They
most
still had maps of the base. They knew where things were. They knew
they
what.
had the map of the base, and also they knew those weaknesses in the base, the generators, the bunker, all those places that you need, that if you just cut, if you just got, if I am the enemy and I just manage to get those weaknesses, so I just paralyze the entire base. So that's why they wanted to go into the war room, because the war room, if I am your enemy, I think the gold mine that I want you to get into, it's the war room, because you have there the intelligence, you have
Operations.
there the maps, yeah,
It's the
yes,
brain. It's the
all of
brain of
what
the
you want.
intelligence. It's the brain of
Yes.
the defense and everything.
Yes, yes, like that, exactly like that. And it's also during the attack, it's coordinate. This is the place that coordinate all the forces. We need some place. We need some soldiers here, there, go back, and all that stuff. But because of that, they wanted to. They tried to take the war. So about like I said, about the 8 a.m. The base was crowded by Nukhba terrorists. We're speaking about hundreds. We don't know how much, but I asked, and I asked many times different people, from those who are investigate and from those who were in Nahal Oz in that day and all that stuff. But we understand that the picture we're speaking about the we're speaking about 300 Nukhba terrorists. There is no military base, IDF base, and there is no even a community, a kibbutz, that attacked like this. I mean, the tip of the spear of Hamas concentrated on Nahal Oz base. They understood that it's a battalion headquarters. They understood why it's so vital to the other companies that surrounded Gaza envelope. So related to the 13th battalion. So I think that's the reason why they do that. But if we speak just about the fact is the base that took the most powerful and deadly hit. So 300 uh, uh, terrorists, and against them 25, 30 combat soldiers from Golani, and also there was tanks there, and there was also a small squad of snipers from Sayeret Tzanchanim, from the paratroopers who came to reinforce during the week, came to reinforce the Yochai in his platoon. And this is also an interesting point, because why you need snipers? I mean, it's quite, you have your own snipers, but you need the snipers because you don't allowed. You need some soldiers who can, just when there's a demonstration, like how they like to call that, when you have those riots, you can shoot them. I mean, if you need to shoot them, you can just shoot them in the leg. So you bring good soldiers that can hit in the leg from distance, and if you just accidentally will kill him, so you are in a serious problem because you killed an innocent civilian. I mean, that's
Even
what.
though even though they're storming at the fence and allowing Hamas to plant bombs.
Yes,
But yes,
it's sad. Yeah, if it was not said like that, and if it was not my brother, I will tell you it's like it's a comical. I don't know. I mean, it's so cynical.
it's sad.
And
It's sad if it didn't, in some ways, contribute to people getting killed. Is what you're saying? Because
yeah, yes, yes,
it
because
would be
because
funny.
we
It would
are
be
paying-
funny if it wasn't real life in a way.
Yes.
So you
Yes,
get your brother. So your brother goes to the Hamal. He goes to the operations center, and and all of those women are unarmed, right? So he basically went there to save and help protect
Yes.
the operations center,
Yes,
but also
yes.
help save and protect unarmed women because they
Yes,
had no way to defend themselves.
they decided to go into the operations center because they understood that this is the most, this is the only place that doesn't have some protection. They thought that, in the entrance we have soldiers, in the shelters we have soldiers, but in the operation room we have none of them. So I mean, combat soldiers. So they decided to go to the Hamal, even though they wanted to go back to their soldiers that were in the other side of the base. But they understand that they needed to protect the women. Most of them were women. There was some, I think, three or four men there, but also an intelligent officer, a radio officer. They are not trained to fight against. They are not. They don't have the proper training, and even
So how many hours did they fight back against Hamas when they were in the Hamal?
in the Hamal. So they fought until 12:30. I mean, like four and a half hours that they fought, and their tactic was to, they wanted to defend the operation center, but they didn't want just to wait, like ducks, and just come to kill us. So they decided to initiate some. They exit from the operation center to 20-30 meters. They shot, they saw terrorists, they shot, and they go back, and like that, back and forth. And when Yochai got inside the Hamal, so he told to those officers, to those non-combat officers, where he saw a terrorist. So one of those officers, I think it was the radio officer, that had a connection with. I don't know if it was a drone, and I don't know if or a drone or a helicopter that was above in sometimes in some point of the. He didn't was there all of the time, but there's a time that they had some help from, I think it was an Apache. So so Yochai, he saw the terrorist. He saw the terrorist when he got outside. He engaged with them, and when he go back, he go back into the Hamal. So he told the radio officer, well, we just saw, 5, 6 terrorists near this building. So he and the radio officer told that to the helicopter, and the helicopters killed them. And like that, until I think until the helicopter just vanished. I suppose he didn't have any ammunition. Uh, so like that, about 4.5 hours. In all that time, Yochai tried to understand what happened with his soldiers in the other side of the base, in the shelter. He understand that they have some wounded. He understand that they have some dead. That Naor Siboni is dead. He saw Naor and David when they got wounded, but he didn't know that they are already died. And they try to speak with their higher commanders, with the battalion commander Tomer Greenberg, Zichrono Lebracha, that also killed in Gaza after we started the maneuvering in Gaza. So they try to get some help and reinforcements, and they always try to understand what happened, but there was totally chaos. The system, the army, the big system just collapsed. and
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 Tomer also went to Kfar Aza because when he
yes,
found out what was going on, he knew there were civilians, and it's just worth noting to people that it's decisions that one can't even really comprehend, because you have thousands of terrorists running around raping and murdering and kidnapping civilians, and you also have thousands of terrorists trying to do the same to soldiers, and
yes,
it's an impossible situation.
yes. It's his soldiers. Tomer is
Yeah.
his commander, and he know them. Where they are. So it's really an hard decision to make between your soldier's life and civilian's life. So we understand that decision. If I was instead of Tomer, I was make the same decision, I think. And 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 they understand that no one is coming. And Nimrod told Yochai, he didn't want to told that to everybody. It's very a mental issue. So he just told them that they got into this. He told them that quietly. So Yochai told them, "Okay, I understand. Uh, I mean, we don't. He told them, I understand. We don't care. We just keep fighting. You try. Keep trying to reaching. To
Right, but
reach them. And
it's not gonna stop them from carrying out their work, because in
yes,
every
we
Ra
need to
there's no other
fight.
choice.
We
Yeah.
need to fight, and that's what we do. And Nimrod, during the whole combat, Nimrod told us that Yochai was very, very focused on the mission, and he told us that he had Nimrod himself. He had very hard time. You see your own soldiers, that you see the terrorist buddies. We want to kill them, but it's quite an hard experience for a human being to see that, and to kill them, and as well, and to see other soldiers killed, and all that noise, and it's a combat experience. It's hard, but and he told us that it was very hard for him, and Yochai just shake him from his helmet and told him, you know focus. You need to focus. Don't think about you. Think about Am Israel. That's what he told them a few times. That don't think about yourself. I didn't mention that, but in 9:30, 9:30 a.m., my sister called Yochai on phone, and she told them, she asked them, how are you? And he told her, I'm fine. Pray. I think that this is the only thing that he managed to think about, to what to tell us. But that's what he told her. It was very quick. He told her, "I'm fine. Pray, not just for me, for all Am Israel," and hang up. And that's, 3-4 seconds of a phone call. And Yochai, during the battle, always thought about the others. This is what Nimrod told me. This is what the other soldiers told me. The guy that investigate all the Nahal Oz from the Golani perspective. So he told me that. So he told me, he didn't try to, to make me to, there's some people who told you what you want to hear, but that guy not. He just, I'm here to tell you the truth, and I can tell you that there was some guys who didn't fight well. There's some guys who fight well, and there's some heroes, and there's some guys who have done the most thing that you can even think about. And Yochai is in his like that, and he not just about his heroism, but also about his calls and decision that he made. And from this perspective of a combat soldier, how a profession you do your decisions, and what are you doing, and what you think about. I need to rescue those soldiers. We need to prevent the terrorists come to that place. He made a very professional decision. And beside that, it was very, very, lock on. We need to do the job. He didn't break. He didn't break. He just, he inspired the all soldiers that was near him. He inspired them. And before, I didn't mention that, before in 7 a.m., before they got, after they all gathered back, after they got their the combat gear. So Yochai told them, "Look, we have some terrorists are arriving to the base. This base won't surrender." And one of the snipers from the paratroopers told me that what Yochai told him and the entire soldiers that were with him. This is those, this is inspire him to fight, because he was very terrified. You heard all those explosions, and you understand that you are going to fight. It was very terrifying. Just he started to scared. But what Yochai told him, just give him the motivation to fight. And we understand that not just the heroism and the professional, but also inspiring the people near you to fight and don't break. Also, Yochai did that when he also told Nimrod, "Don't think about you, think about Am Israel as well." And we know that one time, two terrorists managed to get very, very close to the center to the operations center. So Yochai was just got outside and engaged with them. About 2-3 meters distance, and managed to kill the two of them. They were killed with one of them was carrying a grenade in his hand, and they was just about to throw a grenade into the center, to the operation center. And Nimrod and Yochai they was very close to the terrorist. And when you are shooting, so I'm trying to find the proper words, but they got dirty from the terrorist when you shot them. So
It was close.
because
The
of the
the rebound or the effect of what's going on, it's going to go on to
yes,
them as well. Yeah,
blood
yeah.
and all those parts. So Nimrod, it was very hard experience for him, and it was like in shock. And and after a few hours of fighting, it's it's very mental.
And they killed someone with their hands, correct?
Yes, and after that, after those two terrorists, Yochai just start to just grab many bodies of terrorists and start to pile them up in the entrance of the center of the operation center to prevent. I don't know to prevent. I don't know if it was to prevent the terrorists physically, to make some barrier to or just to break them mentally, that they will see their friends in a barrier in this into the command center, into the intelligence center. So after some hours, in about 12 a.m. I don't know if it would change 12 a.m. So
12
uh,
p.m.
12 p.m. I mean after
Yes.
noon.
Yes, afternoon, noon, exactly
All right.
noon.
So when you get to 12 noon, it's p.m. All right. It's quite hard for me to to
And I
try
also
to
just want to
change
point out to
the.
everyone that I think this is the first podcast you've done in English, so uh, or time talking about this, correct? Usually you're in Hebrew, so thank you for speaking in English here.
Yes,
You're
I'm
doing
trying
great.
my best.
You're doing
I'm
awesome.
trying my best. Huh?
You're amazing. It's great.
Thank you. So about 12 p.m., the terrorists they try all those hours to get into the operation center, and one of them managed to get into the operation. And I speak about 12 p.m., and they fighting. I mean, they are the ammunition. They didn't have any ammunition in that point. Yochai had 5 rounds, 5 last round. Nimrod the 2 or 3 last round. Itai and Ibrahim didn't have any. So this terrorist, one of them, entered the operation center, and those and Yochai and Nimrod, Itai and Ibrahim just killed them in their own hands, and with knives that they took. When I said that in the morning before they came into the operation center, they were killed. They killed 4 terrorists. After they shot the missile, they killed 4 terrorists, and they took from them a map and 2 knives. So with those knives, they killed that one terrorist, that single terrorist that managed to enter the operation center. And the terrorists understood that they called them. They even told them to surrender, but of course that they didn't want to surrender. And I think that also a very hard call to make, a very hard decision, because you don't know what those terrorists will do to you. I mean, I speaking about speaking of it's 12 p.m. It's not in the morning they kidnapped and some woman. But I think in that point, I think it's this my opinion. In that point, in that hour of the day, and they were if they were surrendered, they will kill them all. And this terrorist
But I want to
understood that
ask you actually, it's an interesting point for the timeline. The kidnapping those 5 lookout women that are still being held hostage now, they were kidnapped by the time Yochai got there?
no, they were kidnapped. I don't know and I don't know for sure, but I think about 8:39 a.m. It was very early, and the base was divided because there was the way the base because
Oh, because the ones that
the
were
base.
there weren't on duty, right? Is that what you're saying? That the
Yes, yes,
ones that,
yes.
okay, makes
Yeah, they
that
kidnapped from their shelter. I mean,
right, that
there's
makes sense.
many
Okay.
many shelter that in the base that you have the shelter of of men rooms. You have men and women
Right.
are not together. So there is a shelter near the women rooms. So they kidnapped. They was off duty. They was
Right.
asleep.
Okay.
So no one was kidnapped from the center from the operation center. No one. And Yochai and Nimrod and Ibrahim and Itai just stopped them. So in that point, the terrorists understand that I forgot to mention about before. We don't know if it was before that single terrorist managed to get in and or after, but they started to throw grenades into the operation center, and one of those grenades landed very close to Yochai, to Nimrod, to the other soldiers. So Yochai pushed Nimrod, pushed them and he pushed them and lie on the grenade. I don't know if I say
He
that
jumped
correctly.
on a grenade.
Jumped on the grenade.
Yochai jumped on the grenade.
Can, but the grenade didn't explode, so it was I don't know, you call that in Hebrew it's neffel. I mean, there's some ammunition that sometimes that doesn't explode,
It was a
so you
dud,
have
but he saw his friends and the women there, and he jumped on top of it to save everyone else and give himself up, and the grenade didn't explode.
didn't explode, and it just and he rise up and continue to fight. So if you ask me, do you think that Yochai will do such thing? If I didn't even know the story, I will tell you for sure yes, because I know him, and you can see that on him through all the fighting. I mean, how he think and what he have done, the decision that he made. So it doesn't surprise me, and I will tell you that even though even if I didn't know nothing from the story, I will know that Yochai will do that because he was a hero. Heroes of in his I'm trying to find
He
the
was a true
correct
hero in his final moments, and he was doing
you know
everything he
the
could.
daily life, your daily life,
Right,
what
right.
you do. So there's sometimes it takes time that my brain find the correct word. So the daily life, Yochai was a hero. If you want, you need to get up in the morning, early in the morning. You need to the Shonara, if we speak about mitzvot and all these values and requirements of religion of the Judaism. So Yochai was very connect to that, and we know that in the Judaism, yes, we know that our rabbis told that Ezeu Gibor הכובש את יצרו. The true hero is not just the guy who hero in the combat, but the guy that managed to control himself, to control his temper and all that stuff. So Yochai was very like that, and when he got into a fight, so he just act like what he knows. So
What you're saying is that he acted normally because that is how he would have acted in any other part of his life, and he was willing to jump on the grenade, and it didn't happen to go off. And then he also was doing anything he could to run across the base and save the operations center. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way that anyone would want, and the operations center very famously was burned down.
Yes.
Nimrod made it
But
out though, correct?
before they when they started to burn out the operation center, Yochai just shout, scream to all the girls, the women was in the back of the operation center. So he screamed to them that they burned the operation center, they burned the operation center. And when they heard those screams, they just ran into the window to in the bathroom. There was a little window, so they break the window and started to go get outside. Yochai tried to it took some I don't know, he tried to put out, to turn off the fire with these, I don't
He
know how to
tried to
say that.
extinguish it,
Yes.
extinguish the fire, but
And
it didn't. Listen, it was a full blown fire with a lot of fuel, and they had a lot of materials they were using, so it's not so simple.
yes, so he tried to extinguish it with the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, fire
That's how we call
extinguisher.
that. He
Yep,
tried, but it was like you said, it was a huge,
overmatched.
yes. So he started to try to help others to get outside. And we're speaking about dark, and it was very dark inside, and it was very hard to breathe. And also, it's not just a little fire. We're speaking about electricity and all those materials that when they burn, it's very, you can breathe. So after 1 minute, one and a half minute, Yohai just lost his conscious.
He lost consciousness. Yeah,
So he lost his consciousness, and just during he tried to help others, even he screamed at them, get outside, get outside. Just lost his consciousness. And that's how he died. 15 soldiers, Yochai include, stayed inside, and seven managed to escape. Nimrod was the
through
last.
the bathroom window, right?
Yes,
Because
yes,
there
through the
there was
bathroom.
no emergency exit door, correct?
No, no,
And
no,
it's a
just
very sad story when the army went to Ayal Eshel to tell him what happened to his daughter Roni of blessed memory, that they actually had a room with a door saying that this was the exit door, and it didn't even exist. So the family told the army that their report isn't accurate because you said that there's a room with a door and that room doesn't exist. So the frustrations about what happened is quite crazy, and I think it's worth just discussing for 1 second. You've had a little bit of back and forth with Ayal, and obviously it's incredibly difficult situation. Um, what's the heart of that debate as you see it?
Well, I didn't actually have a debate with him. I never speak directly to him. I always, respond to things that he told in the radio or in the media or in the um, how do you call that?
News and the interviews, etc. Okay,
Yes, in the interviews, the news.
right.
And so I just, but what was hard for me, it
Well,
was
what
that.
did he say?
In the beginning, he said that no one defend his daughter, which is not true. My brother
Right.
defend, and my brother, Nimrod, Itai, the soldiers who have been there. I mean, we don't need go far,
Of
to
course.
imagine
Right.
what will happen to
Right.
those girls if Yochai wasn't there. So 6 hours he kept them alive, in life, and he managed to save some. And so that's what, in the beginning, he said that no one defend them, and that the Golani, he said that the Golani officers ran. They just ran, and it's which is not true. And also, when you say, Golani officers ran away. So in Israel, when you say Golani, the first, the first association, the first image that jump on, it's a combat officer. So it's very awkward and hard thing to think about, that Golani, a fighter,
Right.
a combat soldiers just ran away from the combat. So no one just think. No one, we live in time that no one actually think. You just hear what you want to hear, and you don't, this intellectual effort that you need to do. Nobody do that. So so they heard the Golani officers that so they just think that combat officers, soldiers of Golani, just run away from the fight and just leave his daughter to die, which is not true. Which it's not happened. Yochai actually gave his life to defend those women, and that's one. Second, those the officers who got outside, who saved. Just I don't know, if you are in a room that start to burn, you just go outside, you don't wait. And 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 that's you can say that they run. I don't know. That's what
Right.
I
I'll
would.
say so. I'll say this as an observer and someone who's heartbroken for everyone. I think that every every family who had a loved one die in Nahal Oz can look Herzl Levy in the eye, your own Finkelman, Gallant, Netanyahu, if you want, and Rosenfeld, and all these people, and ask for, Aaron Khalifa, Ronen Bar. You can ask for real answers and accountability. And when someone says in general that they were kind of abandoned, the system and the way that was set up.
Yes,
But that's and
I
that
agree with
applies to,
that.
and again, and it applies to everyone. Listen, you could have had 25 Golani soldiers sitting in the Hamal, and if you had 300 Nukhba people coming, there's not really much that 25 Golani people can do, even if they're all really well trained and sitting there. So um, it's really sad, and I hope that there are bridges that can be built on it, because at the end of the day, I think people are just really hurt, and when they can be together and mourn together and know that you were on the same side and we're really trying and doing everything you could, and just as if that, not ironic, but Yochai saw that there was things that were going wrong on the border, and Roni also saw that there were things going wrong, and trying to point out that there were issues with the equipment and people approaching the border, and they weren't necessarily so far off. And I hope that that can be bridged in some way. And I think that the general frustration as an observer, I think that the fact that there hasn't been a real thorough investigation, and there's so many open questions, and that people still haven't seen the cameras, and they still haven't seen the video, they still have videos, they haven't heard the recordings. I think that that contributes to some of these, I don't want to call it fighting, but some of the back and forth, because people want to know answers. And when you feel like you're not getting answers, you just get frustrated. And I think that some of the frustration leads to this kind of disagreement. I don't know if you agree or
Yes.
disagree
Look,
with that.
I'm also frustrated as well, and I also share the criticism on the senior layer. I don't know how you call that. All
Yeah, right.
those guys who you just mentioned, Finkelman and all those senior officers. So we share that criticism as well. Of course, they. I think personally that they need to go to jail. I don't think that. I mean, they are still in the system. We speak. Khalifa just resigned, and he will
He still has
finish
a
his life.
pension.
What?
I said he still has a pension. which is crazy.
Yes, he still has a pension. He still all that. I personally think that he need to go to jail. Um, and so I totally share the criticism on those officers. But and I also understand that we need to get some answers. But you can't do that on the back of others, people who got killed, who just fight, who fought for. I mean, those who pay from their own life. I mean, they
Right.
lie now. They are in the graveyard now, and it's quite hard for me. And you know, the media and the in the news, all those all of that that the media system, you know, you want the narrative, you want to create some narrative that you want yeah, by your ideology, and you hear some story, and you put that away, you put that detail away, you put that detail away, and you just create your own vision story. And you told that they said that no one listened to the Tatzpitaniot, to the observers, because they were women. I mean, come on, try to be more. I mean, objective. We're speaking about people who killed you. You just need to put your ideology in that. You need to look on that objectively, and it's just not true. I mean, it's not the true. We want the true. We
Well,
want the
let me
truth.
ask you let me ask you a question. Why do you think that nobody listened to them? I do.
To who?
So the observers, right? I as again
But
as an observer, as an no pun intended, but as someone who's looking at the situation not from the inside like that, I do think that the and I'm not making this exclusively a gender thing, male versus female, and I'm not even talking about Golani. I'm talking going up and down the chain. I do think that the fact that they're basically seen as 18-year-old girls or 19-year-old girls is a way of kind of dismissing their opinion in some way. But that doesn't
yes,
mean
yes,
that
also Yochai as
but let me
well.
put it this way. But let me put it this way. I think that they would dismiss a man in the same situation. I don't think that
Yes,
they
yes, they,
care.
they
Yeah.
dismissed also Yochai. What
Right.
Yochai said. It's not.
Right.
It's not. Of course. You know, the arrogance and the
Yes.
Yochai was not just pissed off about the rules of engagement. He also said that. He also to his senior commands. I mean, what happened here? What? Well, just let them to go so close to the fence and all that stuff. He was very frustrated because, but I mean, shut up. You don't understand nothing. I mean, of course, I mean, this is true. But when you try to make things that happened and make them, make other things, I mean, to that will be specific to your agenda, I think it's very dangerous because you just miss the truth, and
And let me
and
also add right here is that because nobody ever dreamed that a situation like this would happen, they never properly and adequately prepared for how to deal with that anyway. So, a basic example, it's not like they had a Kesher system in every bomb shelter. It's not like they had a way of
no,
exactly. So there's all sorts of problems, and once I think once Khaliva and Finkelman and Herzia Levy and Ronen Bar get off the phone and they don't call Nahal Oz and they don't call Kasufim and they don't call any of these bases and say, hey, just be alert. If they had called at 3:30 or 3:45 or even 4 o'clock,
oh, yeah, we were
we're
in the
looking at a
different.
very different story, right? You would have Tomer
Yes.
Grinberg would have gotten out of bed and he would have driven over there himself and they would have looked at what was going on. And
Oh, I mean,
instead, they
the Air Force was in the picture. October 7th, we didn't have the Air Force. We didn't have Air Force.
right.
The mighty Israeli Air Force that bombed in Iraq and Egypt and all that stuff. We didn't have any. I mean, a little.
I think what happened. I would argue. I've made this point privately to some people. I thought it was the most consequential bullet or RPG of the entire war was when the helicopter was landing outside of Beirut, I believe it was, and it was Tzanchanim, and they got hit, and the helicopter, they came out, but then the helicopter got blown up. And what happened was people started hearing about that, and other pilots heard about it, and there was a lot of hesitancy. People didn't know what was going to happen because there was one team that I spoke to that the helicopter pilot literally said to them, "I'm not doing this. I don't know where to land, and it's not safe. So you guys are on your own. You got to drive." And I think that because people, they got very spooked by the fact that that first helicopter got hit, and they didn't, and it made a huge impact on the whole day, and obviously history. And it's just one of these things where once all hell broke loose, it's really hard to, if you haven't planned for it, you haven't prepared for it, you mentally weren't even imagining what was going on. Just the idea that people could go in and out of an army base and take hostages. I mean, it's just crazy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not.
it's I
We
and I
didn't
hope,
dream about it.
yeah, and look, one of the things that I'm hoping to do with the podcast and we're doing here is to try to bring some of these stories to light and actually have conversations out there, because I think that by having these conversations and sharing information, we'll get closer to the truth of what actually happened. Because I'm not sure when any of these investigations would even happen, and on top of that, I'm not sure that the conclusions of all the investigations are even true. I mean, you saw the Beirut
Yeah,
report,
this is this
and
is this
it's,
is my
yeah, the
yes.
Beirut report was
Biggest,
crazy.
yes. This is my biggest concern, and that's what I just told that I don't want to anyone to put his agenda in the investigation, because you see how, I mean, that's what I want. I want the pure, the most pure truth that we can get from that. Because if not just because I personally like truth, even though sometimes it can be hard, but I like truth, and Yohai also liked a very was a very genuine and honest man. But I don't just talk about my personal preference. I talk about, if you want to learn from the past, if
Correct.
you want to learn from what happened, you need to understand exactly, not your agenda, not if you are a leftist, if you are from the right, it doesn't matter. You understand how what happened, and how to learn from that. And when you start to put your political agenda into objective failures, so that, I mean, that is the exactly thing that's why October 7th happened, because we didn't just look about the truth. We didn't look about, this Hamas. They want to kill us. They're not afraid from us, and they. I mean, we thought that, if we just give them more gas and civilian that got into Israel to work, and they like the life, they love the life like us, like the Western, that love to
Make
our career,
money and
money, and
yeah,
not just about making money, but just about live your life peacefully. We love the peace. We want the peace. We seek the peace. But we need to understand that there are some people who don't like that, who don't want that, and they thinking their way of thinking are completely different from us, and we need to understand that. And when you're
and if they act on it, you have to be ready. And you have to be
yes, and
prepared. And if you think that you have some form of deterrence, you have to be aware. And I'm going to bring one point in, which to me encapsulates what happened on October 7th, but also how we have to learn going forward. The other day, there was a young man from Kfir who fell in Gaza. He was 21 years old in reserves. He was on the phone on the porch or by the window without wearing equipment, and he got sniped in the chest. And
yes,
to,
2 days before.
yeah,
Yes,
so
2 days ago.
to me, it's tied into some of the things we see from October 7th, and that the lack of discipline from the top down, and saying that you have to be ready at all times, and you have to be aware that the enemy is trying to kill you at all times, or that they might try to kill you. And when I see that kind of stuff happening in Gaza, and it happened a few months ago as well, where a soldier was killed actually while he was on the phone with his mother, it breaks my heart, but it also indicates to me that we have a lot of work to do, the Jewish people in Israel, because there has to be command and control, there has to be discipline, there has to be order, and there has to be a little bit of imagination, and you should be a little bit scared. You shouldn't be, on your phone like that. And it's I hope that people internalize these lessons and get better, and that we
Yes.
can continue to make progress on it. And it's difficult to see that mistakes happen and it costs people's lives, but the most important thing beyond anything is being able to learn from them. And I hope that happens.
Yes, yes, I hope too. But I think that we have also, we are human beings, so we are making mistakes. But I do think that we need to understand uh, that our actions, what are we doing, what are we deciding, our policy, all the things that we do are they they drive they I don't know how to say that they cut
They drove what happened.
from the ideas. We have some idea.
They're
We need
basically,
to.
you have original conception, and everything streams from that, and everything comes from that, and it was
Yes.
driven by the original thing.
So I personally, and I think that many people here in Israel think like that also, but that we didn't change that conception. We are still thinking with the same conception that brought October 7th upon our head. So you don't change. I mean, you still. I mean, yes, we are more than a year in a war, but you know you see how the higher command, the senior command, Erzi, Alevi, and all those commanders, this is the same, this is the same disc. We see the same. Also, they didn't change. We just got a huge hit, but we react with our same set of values and ways of thinking. So I really think that what we spoke before about the truth, and it is very this is this is one of my when you in your life, when you got to some harsh and hard situation, you start to thinking deeply, and you think about the truth. No, no, nothing. You can. When Yochai died, I just thought about my concern before Yochai before the war and before Yochai died. You have there. I'm a student, so you have your concerns with your studies, and I need to pass that exam and all that stuff. You have those usual normal concerns. But after Yochai, it's my perspective changed. I mean, you look what happened before. I mean, that's not a really challenge for me. I mean, look what
It's
look
small.
look.
It's peanuts compared to the real stuff.
Yes, yes, it's a peanut. So I find myself think a lot and reflect a lot. So I do think that these point that we need to speak the truth, and we need to deal with the truth. We can deny it. I mean, you can deny the truth many times, but in the end, it will find you. So we are also Jews, and we know that midvar sheker tirchak. You need to get away. You need to run away from lying, and from liars as well.
Hey, by the way,
And
on that note, I could not agree with you more, and we're cut from the same cloth on that. Yehuda, you and your family have paid the ultimate sacrifice 2 times over for the Jewish people, and our hearts are with you. You
thank
are,
you.
you know, just it's unbelievable to see your strength and your clarity after what you guys have been through, and Yochai's bravery will be an example for people for generations, and we should, you know, we should his neshama shev and aliyah, and we should. I think people have been saying to be we should be worthy of his sacrifice, and it's
Yes.
really true because he gave everything, and it's been a real privilege to be able to talk to you about him and to get to know him and to get your feelings on everything here. I hope we can continue discussion another time as well because there's a lot to discuss, and I
Yes.
just really appreciate your time. We'd planned for 30 minutes, 40
Yes.
minutes, and we're almost 2 hours, and I feel like
Two
there's so much
hours.
more to talk about, but.
So
Yochai's neshama shev and aliyah, and we're thinking about you guys. And
thank you.
the hostages should come home, and the soldiers should come home safely. And
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you also for the opportunity to speak about Yochai. I just want a last thing.
absolutely,
Yochai loved Eretz Israel. Not just I just loved the Eretz Israel. He loved to travel. He loved to. He was an handyman. He loved to work with his hands. He also was a yeshiva man that know how to sit and read the book, but he really liked to work with his hands. So when he was 20 years old, he planted a vineyard in Kiryat Arba, in the place that we grew up, and he actually didn't like wine, just like the work. That it was very symbolic, because you are in Hebron and you are in Yehuda, the one of I don't know what Yaakov, our ancestor, told you Yehuda, his son, one of these his bracha that he gave to Yehuda, what was about the vineyards. Yes, about
you're fulfilling a prophecy. It's a promised.
yes. So Yochai saw that in a symbolic perspective. So but also he liked the work. He liked to wake up early in the morning, and he just like that. Most of normal people don't like to wake up early in the morning and go to work, but Yochai like that, and he planned that vineyard. And the family, we are currently in the middle. We launched a campaign for his memory. We want to. We want to that place. This vineyard place the bond also to our father as well, but also to
Wow,
our fathers and mothers. You are in Hebron, so
wow, I
also as
understand.
well.
And we're coming up on Chai Sarah this week, so
Ah, yes, so
fitting.
it's also connected to that.
Yeah,
So we want to honor his legacy. We by establishing a memorial site, and we will do there an observatory as well. It's a very beautiful place in his memory at the
wow,
vineyard, where all Am Israel can observe Yochai values and heroism, and try to meet with Yochai live,
right.
even live. So we are currently in the middle of the campaign, and I will love to
If
if you
you
can just
absolutely, if you send me the link, we'll put it in the show notes and we'll send it out. And I look forward
so
to next time I'm in Israel being able to see it with you. And
so if you are in Israel, talk to me and we will meet.
absolutely. So send me the link.
Like
We'll put it in the show notes. And to be continued. I really appreciate your time.
uh, again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think it's a very important job that you are doing. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you. Appreciate it.